Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to be diving into a spooky topic. And while I go over this info, I'll be working on this piece, which I call Ghost. And prints will be available over on my website, which I'll have linked down below. But anyway, we are going to discuss the various ways you might be able to identify a ghost or spirit is in your presence. But before we get into it, a little disclaimer. With the things I'm about to list, there are many scientific or psychological reasons for experiencing any one of these, such as something in your environment causing stress, either mental or physical, or even like muscle spasms, as a few examples. So make sure that you do your due diligence and, if needed, contact a professional. So for me personally, to have any one of these experiences be compelling proof of spirit interaction, there would hopefully be more than one thing noted during an experience. I personally would double check that there isn't an obvious logical explanation for something after you have gone through the experience. And lastly, trust your intuition. If you are a more sensitive person, I think you will have no problem figuring out what is a real interaction and what may not be. But for those who may not already be tapped in, don't have your first reaction to the experience be doubt. Doubting it right from the start is what shuts down your ability to tap into this otherworld phenomenon. Have a little belief and then double check for the obvious. So with that said, what are some common signs and situations that occur when spirits may be around? Well, typically people will experience feeling watched. Basically, a persistent sense of being observed, having eyes on you, which for a lot of people can occur while standing at the kitchen sink or in the bathroom, which is interesting given both of these locations involve water. Culturally speaking, some believe water to be a deterrent to ghosts and spirits, saying that they can't pass through it, kind of similar to certain myths about vampires, along with other things like iron, steel, salt, all being anti-ghost. But other sources and experiences seem to suggest the opposite, that ghosts use water as a medium of communication. Some quoting that water, is like a conductor, and other theories suggesting that the elemental importance and magical properties of water is what makes it a ghost hub. Also, not to mention that water can potentially be affected by human consciousness, or as suggested by the studies of Masaru Emoto. I would also like to suggest that maybe a reason why the feeling watched situation comes up in these locales so much has more to do with the living person's state of mind. Typically, when we are in the kitchen or bathroom, our defenses are down, and our busy mind is occupied with a muscle memory task like doing the dishes or brushing our teeth. So essentially, we are in a more meditative state, which opens up our more sensitive senses to the world around us, and therefore we can pick up on the spirits around us, and they feel more welcome to approach since we have a small window open to that type of communication in those moments. Next up, we have feeling a physical presence around you, such as when you know there is someone standing around you, but you can't see them, which can often feel like denser air, almost like hitting a wall when walking through a space. And this can typically be accompanied by a shift in temperature, straight up cold or hot pressure, tingling sensations, or goosebumps. This is when you also get more extreme situations like being physically touched to various degrees. Most people will just have what feels like a light tap or a hand resting on them, but we, of course, have stories of more violent cases like shoving, pulling, and scratching. Another classic sign is strange noises, whispers, footsteps, knocks, humming, buzzing, or other sounds that seem to come from nowhere, or you can never find the source of the sound. Scratching, tapping, and the extreme, hearing your name being called from a different room when you know no one else is around. In some cases, it would be more than just a name, but sort of a full sentence. Phantom music, and I would also include ringing in the ears or other sudden sounds in the ear, could also be related to the presence of something other in your space. I have personally experienced two very strange occurrences like this in my life, that I don't have a logical explanation for. As mentioned previously, temperature changes are another big one. The most compelling one being a very sudden drop in specific areas of a space, usually by 10 to even 20 degrees, is very compelling, especially if there isn't an obvious reason. But temperature changes can be more subtle, but what makes them unusual is it being in a localized spot, along with some of the other phenomena we have mentioned already. Next up, we have odd smells. Familiar or unfamiliar scents that appear without explanation is one of my favorites. Most of the time, these are familiar scents, but what makes them odd is how they will be related to a loved one who has already passed away, or a strong memory, a favorite perfume or cooked item that has a deep connection to a loved one, or are, two examples. But there are cases of experiences with unpleasant smells, rot, sulfur, unpleasant musk, etc. But please, please make sure if you do suddenly smell things like this in your home, that you follow up with the appropriate experts to make sure you don't have like a serious issue, such as a gas leak or something unfortunate like a wild animal who got trapped in your house and, unfortunately passed away. Because that definitely can happen, especially if you have a fireplace. So definitely pay attention to that. Next up, what I would consider a more extreme experience is object movement. So you could have like items disappear and reappear. They just seem to vanish and then show up in a completely different location than where you normally have it stored. Now, this could be just human error in most cases, but if the frequency is significant coupled with other things, maybe you do have a visitor. But do keep in mind, it may not be a ghost because this phenomena is common with other things such as the Fae. If you want to know more about that, check out my video 8 Signs That the Fae Are Around You over on my other YouTube channel. I'll have it linked down below. But anyway, you can also have objects that seem to just move on their own, like doors or cabinets opening or closing by themselves, furniture shifting slightly, books or other small objects flying off shelves in extreme cases. I would say that this type of phenomena usually tends to appear after some of the less physical signs have been happening for a while. Some would consider the severity of these movements related to poltergeist activity, which is in its own ballpark, in my opinion. In a similar category, we have electrical disturbances, flickering lights or lights turning on and off sporadically, or even dimming without reason. We also have electronic glitches, which can be described as unusual behavior from electronic devices like TVs, radios, or phones that is just not the norm. Even fire alarms in some cases can be affected. I've actually experienced that one coupled with a TV suddenly turning on at the same time in the dead of night. It was terrifying. A more modern situation we see is phenomena also being caught on things like Ring doorbell cameras and other surveillance equipment. And lastly, we move into probably the most wild one when it happens, visual sightings. So this can mean seeing a full-on apparition, but more likely you will often see fleeting shapes or figures in your peripheral vision, as well as orbs of light, which are small floating balls of light that can appear in person as well as in photos or video. Typically, they are not a scary appearance, in my opinion, but I have noticed that when orbs appear, it almost seems like they're heralds of a larger entity that can affect the physical world more significantly than they can. There are also the apparitions that can appear as shadows, but there can be an argument to make on whether these are normal spirits or ghosts, or if it's what's known as a shadow person. I speak more about this in my video, What Are Shadow People? Also over on my other YouTube channel. I'll have it linked below. Now, typically most humans are not the ones seeing the supernatural on a regular basis, but animals, on the other hand, pets can often act strange when spirits are around. Your pet might start staring intently at seemingly empty space, excessively bark or meow in certain areas, physically track or attack at something that doesn't seem to be there, And potentially animals can be touched by the spiritual, world much in the same way humans can. Think, pulling, scratching, what have you. The humans who often see spirits the most are children. Young children are typically more psychically open than adults are, so they will see things that their parents just don't. And also, the parents just might not have the open mindedness of the child to believe in it. You'll also get cases of children knowing information that they otherwise wouldn't have known at all. They may describe a man or a woman who is identical in description to a passed away loved one whom they had never met. This is a very common one I've seen stories of where, a grandfather or great grandmother passes away before the birth of a child, and then the child literally describes details that they would have never experienced about that person. It's really fascinating stuff. So, with that said, these are some of the ways you may figure out that a spirit is around you. As I said before, though, trust your intuition, but combine that with good old-fashioned common sense. I have personally experienced a good number of these, and one of the best ways I knew they were legit was I trusted my intuition. I didn't doubt it, and I did my due diligence to confirm my experience. So I hope that you guys found this information entertaining as well as informative. Let me know down in the comments which of these you've personally experienced. Do you believe in ghosts and spirits? Definitely let me know. Also, let me know if you like these sort of topic videos, and if so, what would you like me to talk about next? Also, again, remember that if you like this artwork that I'm working on, it is available over on my website, so definitely go and check it out. But with that said, thank you all for watching and stay spooky. Bye-bye.